have you writing this book, and the book is, in the last stages of edit. I guess you're almost ready to launch it, aren't you?
Pretty much this fall, yeah.
This fall. So, can people fix themselves? Do they?
Well, I mean, it's going to depend on how severe the problem might be. If somebody's just dealing with mild depression, I've talked to people who have mild depression, and I say just eat 3 square meals a day, increase the quality of the protein that you're eating, don't be afraid of animal fats, and two or three weeks go by, and they come to me and they say, my goodness, Pam, I made those changes and I'm feeling so much better. They didn't have to buy a supplement per se, because they were just dealing with something mild. Again, you go up to moderate to severe depression, you may be talking about needing more assistance in that regard. Yeah. So, it's going to really depend on the individual's circumstances. When you're talking about a child with autism or somebody with schizophrenia, there's a lot of education that needs to be set in place.
Jenny McCarthy certainly said, Jim Carrey's wife said, and she made, of course, the headlines for so many people talking about this autistic and creating a solution for autism through diet modification, was celebrated on one side and criticized on the other.
Right, and when you're talking about the specific carbohydrate diet or any of those types of casein-free, gluten-free diets, any of those types of things, unfortunately they're overlooking several variables with regards to a fundamentally healthy diet. They're overlooking things like the importance of bone broth, the increasing our consumption of animal fats. They're overlooking the importance of soaking and fermenting grains in some cases, although I think a lot of people are learning more about that today.
Sprouting.
Soaking and fermenting. So the importance, if you're eating grains at all, they should be sprouted and fermented in the form of, say, sourdough bread, for instance. So, we can do fine without grains, period. But what's happening in those diets is they say, let's cut out the glutinous grains, i.e. rye, barley, or wheat, and they may turn to things like amaranth or quinoa and overeat those grains as well, which is not the point of the diet. It shouldn't be the point of the diet.
And actually, let's go back a little further, because we got to take people, and I've also done and doing some work currently with people with gluten-free product. I mean, let's face it, some people are just going to look for, okay, I can't eat bread, but I don't want to deal with my systemic problem, but I just want to be able to eat something, so they're going to go get a gluten-free product that they can digest and eat properly. But you have said that because of the way that we have been raised generationally, that the body has been overexposed, therefore the body becomes intolerant?
Right, we can develop what are known as food sensitivities to things like gluten, which is a protein found in certain grains, and casein, which is a protein that's found in dairy products. Now, when even celiac patients, when they go to sourdough breads, they can actually digest sourdough breads. They don't have aggravation or pain from eating sourdough, and this has been proven in studies. But again, that's not going to be true for everybody with celiacs, but that has been shown in studies. Now, where dairy is concerned, of course, I'm a raw food supporter, or raw milk supporter. Some people cannot tolerate pasteurized dairy products, but do very well on raw dairy products, in particular the lacto-fermented dairy products like kefir and yogurt. Those are very well supported or tolerated by people with food sensitivities.
Why do people need to have... Okay, we're going to go to break. I want to talk about the fact that if they eat the raw milk, or kefir or yogurt, like you're talking about, in the form you say, and then actually start to sustain their diet with proper portions of animal-based protein, what is happening inside of the body that's saying, I like it, I can use it, and this is going to help me? As it relates to our topic, depression, anxiety, addictions. And I want to talk about addictions as well, because that's all part of the mental health state, right?
That's right.
All right, we'll be back with more of Pam Killeen and some of those answers. She doesn't have them. I'll have to go eat a cow. Stay with us right back with First Take Live. And actually a researcher, so the information you're getting tonight, this is really what Pam's work is all about. And again, it's up to you as the viewer to take all of this to your best ability and then do something with it. And at no time do we want to be held responsible for the fact that you said, okay, I'm going to go and get this done, but maybe you should. Who knows? Pam, we went to break. We were talking about the idea of animal fats, about all the things that happen, taking kefir, a whole raw milk, etc. The effects on the body are when you do this.
Well, in an ideal world, what you want to do is give yourself the maximum amount of nutrition possible.
Which is contrary to what we do now.
Yeah, most of society today is minimizing nutrition. We want to maximize nutrition, and the way we learn how to do that is by looking at our ancestors, who were far more mentally and physically robust than we are today. And so what we look at, of course, in mentally robust nations or primitive cultures, for instance, is we see that they're eating high-quality animal foods, which deliver very specific nutrients which support the nervous system. And just to give you an idea of what nutrients I'm talking about here, that would be nutrients like vitamin B12, vitamin B6, folic acid, phospholipids, and so on and so forth.
So slow that down. You talk very quickly because it's so passionate for you. But are you saying that the only way we can get it is by eating that cow we just drove by on the highway?
Well, I mean, we were hunter-gatherers. We were over 99% of our history as eaters. We were eating meat and fish.
Well, the vegans won't agree with you, will they?
Well, they don't look back in history. I didn't when I was a vegan. I didn't know to look back in deep, deep history to see exactly how we evolved. If you look at the body, like a 747 jet, you want to take it apart and see how it was built. And essentially that's what I had to do to discover what healthy eating was really all about. And like I said earlier, you're only as healthy as your cell membrane. So if you look and discover what it is that's making your cell membrane structurally sound, you need to understand the materials that it's built with. It's like building a house. If you're putting bricks together and you want to have a strong mortar, you want that house to stay together. You don't have the right materials, that house is going to crumble. Same thing with the human body.
We're seeing this onset probably more to what you're, in fact, tagging on what you said just in this last moment here, was that we see an increased diagnosis of ADD, ADHD, autism, OCD. We see that many people are debilitated having to take Prozac or having to take some mind-altering stuff. That wasn't as common, 30 years ago as it is today.
No, yes, it's rising incrementally.
So, to your point, you're saying that in utero, our parents are malnourished, so therefore our kids come out malnourished or come out with the same food addictions?
Well, what happens is the brain isn't developing properly in the womb if, say, a mother is not eating enough animal fat, animal protein, and this has been shown again in scientific literature. So, we need to be eating complete protein in order to build the dendrites in the brain, for instance. We need the animal fats to build the receptors in the brain. And unfortunately, people who are following fad diets could risk could risk their child's health. And so what we want to do, of course, is we want to eat 3 square meals in the day. 3 square meals is what we thrived on for generations. All of a sudden, over the last 50 years, that very sound traditional dietary habit has virtually disappeared. We have people now who skip breakfast in the morning. If they have anything at breakfast, it's coffee. We have people on low-fat diets. We have people following all these diets, you name it, they're following it. And it's just a trend because people are fundamentally looking for answers. I think people are suffering, and they're suffering silently. They're struggling with depression, but they're not going to say they're struggling with depression because of the shame and the guilt associated with it. 70% of people struggling with depression don't even talk about it. They don't go for help for it. And so, we need to offer answers for people. We need to tell them that it's not in their head. Your head, last I looked at it, was attached to your body. So what we eat affects our brain. What we eat affects how we think and feel. And so we need to put the right properties, we need to put the right elements in our mouth to support our brain function.
Nutritionists would say that, okay, well, I'm looking at it, I'm doing a sensitivity test, and I see where you're deficient. So, there's always protocols with vitamins and supplementation because they say no matter what we eat today, that the vegetables, should we eat them, are nutrient deficient, that the animals that we eat today, if we're so inclined, are stock full of antibiotics. And so can we actually, this is a great idea, but can we actually make it? Most nutritionists would say the cards are stacked against us.
I don't want anyone to become a food fanatic. I want people to eat soundly. If people can go for the gold standard and buy grass-fed meat or raw farm fresh milk, if they can go for that gold standard, all the power to them. But if they can't, there's no sense in walking around feeling guilty about eating conventionally grown meat or dairy or eggs. So, we just do the best we can, but it's fundamentally follow that model where in the morning, when we were, like I said, healthier than we are today, we woke up in the morning, we had bacon and eggs for breakfast or something along that line. We had a complete lunch with high-quality animal protein, complex carbohydrates, and the same thing for dinner. We ate at 7 in the morning, we ate at noon, and we ate at 6 o'clock at night. That was to stabilize our blood sugar. And you mentioned hypoglycemia earlier, where addiction is concerned. Very commonly, what you see with people struggling with addiction is that they are actually struggling with hypoglycemia or low blood sugar.
Let's, since you